Here is our host, Tian Wei.
Hello and welcome to World Insight. I'm Tian Wei. Afghanistan has endured decades of conflict, one after another, with the latest chapter ending in a hasty withdrawal of U.S. and allied forces after a costly two-decade war. During the course of America's longest war, more than 800,000 members of the U.S. military served in Afghanistan. So what are their reflections on that war? On that, I talked to Memo Mata, a former U.S. Marine who served 2 tours in Afghanistan in 2001 and 2004. After working as a teacher in the United States, he decided to move to China and now become the principal at a private school in Beijing. For him, and for all soldiers, combat is a complex mix of emotions that define the experience of war and shape their attitude to conflict when they come back. Take a look.
There you go.
Kicking a ball or two with Coach Memo Mata was fun. Listening to him hype up his school's playground was part of it.
If you're a parent in China and you're shopping for an international school, and the moment you walk on the campus, I always tell the parents, go to the football field. Go to the football field.
So true.
Right?
So true. Yes.
Some fields look beautiful, but when you walk on it, it's harder than the floor.
I see.
And can you imagine if you're a child running and you fall on a very hard field, you'll get hurt. The way you know a school is a good school is if they invest in something like a football field. That field is padded, that field is soft, children can fall on it without getting hurt too bad.
Right.
Now, other educators might disagree with me, and I hope I don't get in trouble with my colleagues from different schools, but parents, check the football field.
He is now a proud principal of a private school in Beijing. You can tell he loves what he's doing. Though one could hardly imagine the hoops he had to jump through to be where he is today. In his own words, he's lived a few lives.
I've had very odd stages of my life, from how my 2 sons were conceived to my military experience, and then into education and sports, and the fact that I'm a world traveler, and it's very odd.
It took a lot as a single father of 2 at the age of 18, who's from a modest household in Texas, to get college education. That's on top of raising 2 sons. Eventually, he traveled half the world to realize his dream as an educator, running a private school in Beijing today. Fate or not, it has a lot to do with America's longest war, the war in Afghanistan.
When my children were born, no university would offer me a sports scholarship. I played American football, I played lacrosse. And no university would offer me a scholarship and pay for my kids, because most kids go into college with no kids.
Right.
So what am I supposed to do? I'm strong, I'm fast, I'm not very smart, and so with the skills that I built, athletic skills that I built, there's only one thing I could do, is to join the military. Joining the military gave my children a home. It gave my children health insurance, which in America is completely crazy. So the fact that I had reliable health care for my kids, my salary was so small, but I didn't need so much. Basically, yeah, I had no choice, so I joined the military. Also, I used it as a way to go to college because the university, you have something called GI Bill, which allows veterans to go to university for free. I didn't have any money and I couldn't get my scholarships. So that's why I got into the military in the first place.
Memo described his days in the battlefront lines as one of the darkest moments of his life. Yet, it was also amid the sounds of gunshots in Afghanistan that he came to grips with what he wants to do with his life.
You have to go to hell sometimes to find inspiration. For anybody out there who feels like they're in a very dark hole in their life, rather than pitying yourself, open your eyes and figure out why you're there. You're supposed to learn something even in the deepest, darkest moments of your life. There you'll find inspiration. In the battle, during the battle, I realized I wanted to be a teacher. During the darkest moment of my life, I realized I was meant to be an educator. I saw a teacher do something amazing in the class in the middle of a battle.
In Afghanistan?
Yeah, and the teacher's giving a math class, and when the battle starts, an old Afghan teacher stands up, and it's a classroom with no windows, half a roof, and bullet holes everywhere. And 3 meters out the window, people are shooting. And this teacher, when the battle starts, and is middle in the classroom, stands up calmly, claps his hands twice. All the students stood up, took their desks, put it on the side. And they get down on their little bellies, kids from 5 to 12. And they continued the lesson.
Wow.
There's screams outside and there's of life, and these kids are in the lesson. And the teacher had their attention. And the whole world did not exist. And so at that moment, knowing that teacher said, that's what I want to be. The most powerful human was not a CEO or a president. The most powerful human was a teacher. I don't share this with a lot of people. It's the first time I've really publicly ever shared this story. I share this story low-key for students who need that motivation. And for me as an educator, the only purpose of education is not to go to Harvard or Cambridge. The only purpose of education is to inspire a child and then giving that child an opportunity to master that inspiration. Not everybody is the top academic. Your school might have amazing artists, musicians, and athletes. So I aim to create very comprehensive programs. Through my work with the NFL, through my work with American football, I can make connections with NCAA and the top university sports programs.
Good for you, and good for the kids.
Yeah, and I hope that parents will break that mindset that my child has to go to Harvard or to a top 50, right? Because it's all about what's right for the student. And again, this whole journey has led me to this place, and I hope me sharing these stories will allow people to understand that wherever they are in life, they should be lucky at what they have. So overcome those challenges, give challenges, and let students achieve. And this is what I got left from the military that keeps me going as an educator.
20 years after the war in Afghanistan, Mata clearly has a new lease of life, finding new meaning and purpose. But he still has to constantly struggle with flashbacks from the battlefield, though the war was not his personal choice.
Where were you when you were in Afghanistan?
I keep a journal. So basically, I actually wrote a timeline of my first tour, just to remember. So it was the Panjshir Valley in the north. And then, and so I kind of went in there, and then we kind of made our way, it was October of '01, after September 11th. And we kind of made our way into the Mozai Sharif. and took that place. Kabul, and then we did a big conflict was in Kunduz, and then moving down, it was we went finally down to Kandahar. That was kind of like the last place. And during this time, I think it was like December, there was a push of the Taliban that came in from the south, and it was the Shah-e-Khat Valley. And that one kind of, it was not a big issue up to that point. We were taking places pretty easy, but it was there that was really tough, and it kind of opened our eyes a bit. When you go in there and you're trying to train people, the Afghan army, the people who are supposed to be next to the U.S. coalition, right? And these guys would come in bright blue pickup trucks and headlights, just getting picked off from the Taliban who were coming in. So right away, you saw that there were problems between how the U.S. was training these guys, because the adversary was no joke, and they were veterans. They were hardened, trained warriors up against farmers and tribesmen and things like this. So without any coalition there, I don't see how the country could have sustained them off for very long.
At that time, you already smell it already?
Yeah, well,
somewhat.
Look, in the military, they call this grunts.
What does that mean?
A grunt means you're just a brainless person on the ground, ordered to fight. So I'm just a grunt. I've never been an officer. I'm not a political expert. I'm not a military expert. All I got are my memories.
You've ever been in touch with your friends, colleagues?
Still stay in touch with quite a few of my old Marines.
How are they doing?
There's a scale from very good to very bad. Unfortunately, the Marines that I stay in touch with are mostly on the very bad side, even 20 years later.
Really?
I think my parents built me to overcome anything and to love as many people as I could while doing it, right? Unfortunately, some of my fellow Marines, they for whatever reason couldn't overcome their experiences. So, I pray for them, and of course, care for veterans in America is not the best in the world. It's very hard to get treatment for mental issues. It's very hard. Normally, for physical injuries, it shouldn't be a problem, but getting that constant psychiatric help that you might need, or if you become an addict, getting that recovery that that all of that, it's still issues. I pray that they all find a peace. Well, look, it's memories that wake you up at night. In cold sweats. It's memories. And when you're awake in the day, to a large extent, you can control what you're thinking by staying busy, being with people you care about, hanging out with friends, and enjoying. And I'm lucky that I'm in a profession that I love. I love education. So I wake up every day super excited that I'm an educator. So I did everything. My biggest problem was sleepless nights. For over 20 years, I don't think I've slept more than 4 hours.
Really?
Even today, good 2, 3, 4 hours every night. In the beginning, it was tearing me apart. Oh, I was so tired, and I was going crazy, and I saw myself going down a path that would take me away from my sons. So I said, okay. By that time, you know, I was a single daddy. I wanted to be part of their lives. I wanted to do everything I can to give them a bright future. I couldn't do that if I went down a dark place like other veterans did.
But you cannot afford that because
No.
you got them too.
I had to find ways to overcome. I was in the classroom,
Good for
still
you.
shell-shocked, still trying to get over all my issues.
I just don't know how you digest, you know, this transition.
Well, one of my favorite words in the English language is the word adapt. I went from this extreme to being in a room with a bunch of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-olds with special needs.
That was a tough job.
Well, it saved me.
Why it saved you?
Because I refused to go crazy. Those kids needed me. Moreover, my own sons saved my life more than they will ever know.
I think you have learned a lot through life. When you were there, 2001, and you ended up in China.
Well, you know, I still have those oh my God moments.
Yeah.
Every now and then, I'll wake up and I'll say, oh my God, I'm in China. Teachers in Texas especially did not get paid much. And around 2004, 2005, a lot of my colleagues were on food stamps, welfare. And they were educators. We're the hope of the American future, and they didn't pay us much. And so I took out a map. I didn't know much about China. I wrote a history paper about China, about its dynasties and universities once. That's all I knew about China.
You were a teacher before. Earlier, you were vice principal of a school, international school, and this school, you're the principal.
That's right.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that. When people ask me, why did America do that? How can America do that? Don't, you know, because they think I did that. I lived in China for 16 years. You know, I get culture shock when I go back home to America. There's nothing that surprises me about this country anymore. Just things that amaze me.